to the
I'm letting people in right as
Oh,
they come.
you're doing all right. We're not going to wait. Okay. Well, welcome everybody to our very first Welcome to Coaching Club Volleyball. I saw a few names on here that I know I've coached quite a bit in the past, which is awesome. But I'm assuming a lot of you are new or newer to coaching. And so this is the first time we've ever done this webinar presentation. Just trying to help support clubs and coaches a little bit more, especially transitioning if it's your first time or again, newer to coaching clubs. So my name is Ryan Adams. I'm the coach development manager with Volleyball BC. And anything like coach education, coach requirements, professional development, that's kind of my role. I work with a lot of your clubs. Each club usually has like a coach person we kind of work with to help make sure you guys are all good to go with your coach requirements and education, but then also set up things like professional development webinars, coaching clinics, all that good stuff. So super happy to be here tonight. Excited for this evening and good chance for us. It's our first time, like I said, so I'm sure there's going to be things. We could probably do 4 webinars on coaching, welcome to Coaching Club Volleyball. So I picked some things I think that are important. And at the end, if there's things that you're really wanting to know or get sort of answered, then we'll save that for the end and have questions. But before we get started, we also have with me Adrian Good Murphy. Adrian is sort of head of pathways. So my boss kind of oversees anything to do with volleyball. So from the club side, coach development, ref development, and Team BC. And he will be here to help answer questions and any of that good stuff. And then we also have our head official, kind of my co-counterpart on the referee side, Glenn Wheatley. So Glenn kind of oversees all officiating, and he'll be doing a little bit something at the end in regards to, expectations and kind of tips as far as like things to be mindful of and aware of as far as fostering great relationships with referees and just being a coach in general at a tournament. So with that, I'm going to let Glenn actually do our land acknowledgement before we get going.
Thanks for having me, Ryan. While we come together from many places in the province, I would like to acknowledge that I am speaking to you this evening from the traditional, ancestral, and unceded lands of the Coast Salish, Tsleil-Waututh, Stolo, and Squamish nations.
Awesome. Thanks, Glenn. Well, first of all, thanks for being a coach. I know it's a lot. If you've coached before at school or at any other sports, it's a lot of effort and time, energy. I've been fortunate enough to work in volleyball my whole life full time, so lots of coaching, different ages, different levels, and I know it takes a lot of effort. So thank you, first of all, for being here tonight, but also just for being willing to be a coach and to have a positive impact on the athletes in your community. This is a quote I like by John Wooden. A good coach can change a game. A great coach can change a life. And we have such a great opportunity, not just to shape, an athlete, a volleyball athlete, but also to shape people and to, yeah, really, as cliched as to shape our next generation. So lots of great opportunity and responsibility. So my hope for today is just to kind of make you aware of some things in regards to navigating coach education, certification, become aware of some of our resources and how to access them, and some tips for you set you up for success. Coaching is not just about teaching skills; it's about shaping an environment where athletes learn, grow, and belong. So your role as a club coach, this is kind of like a bigger picture. So safety, obviously, athlete safety, behavior, your behavior matters on and off the court, shaping your team culture, and representation of your club and Volleyball BC. We'll kind of quickly go over some of our coaching requirements. Some of you are probably aware of these already, but just want to make sure because they're important and can sometimes be a bit confusing, and then kind of also show you how to get through into the locker in the volleyball coaching center, which maybe just for the sake of the presentation, maybe I'll save to the end, but either way, we'll talk about these now. So if you don't know, the big four are not necessarily sports specific or volleyball specific, sorry, but they're multi-sport that any coach, no matter what team or age level you're coaching, you need to have. So CRC screening, through my back check. So most of you have probably already done that. That is going to be done through your club. And that's kind of how you even are able to even be a coach and get insurance. So if you don't have your screening, and you have no back check done, and you're coaching, you have no insurance at the moment. So you cannot be covered. Sorry, I got cut off there on the bottom. So CAC Safe Sport, that is one of the other things you need to do before you're stepping onto the court. So hopefully you guys have all done that. And that's free in the locker. And then making headway, which is also free in the locker. That has to do with concussion protocol and then MED evaluation. So this is one, if you're new to coaching, this is one where sometimes can get a little bit confusing because there is what's called making ethical decisions, like the course, and then there's the evaluation. So as far as requirements go, we are concerned with the evaluation piece part of it. You can take the course. It's a workshop. You can go online and take it. It can be a home study. And if you do that, then the evaluation is free, or you can skip right to the evaluation. If you skip right to the evaluation, you have two chances to pass the evaluation without having to take the course. And if you do, great, you've got your MED evaluation checked off. And if you don't, then you'll be required to take the course. And once you've taken the course, you get as many chances as you want to be, to become ethical, to be certified. So that's kind of how that works. So sometimes that can be confusing for new coaches or newer coaches. So just be mindful of that. You don't necessarily need the course, but you can take the workshop. These are our 2026 coach education requirements. So all coaches, like I mentioned, need the big four. And then if you are a head coach of 12 to 14U, you need foundations of volleyball on top of the big four. If you're 15 to 18U, a head coach, then you need foundations of volleyball plus the development coach workshop. Or another way to look at that is you need to be development coach trained. So this is also sometimes, especially if you were an older coach or you used to coach and you're coming back to club volleyball, in your locker, if it says trained, if you're trained and in brackets it says transferred, that means your old coaching stuff that you would have done, they've equated that to have taken a development coach workshop. So if you're not trained yet or don't have trained status and you haven't taken the workshop, then you need to take the workshop. But if you are someone that has done some volleyball training, in the past, just you can go check that out. It doesn't mean you can't take the workshop to kind of catch up on some of the new language and new methods of teaching, but that's kind of an important distinction. Nationals, if you're going to nationals, VolleyballConnect has some different requirements than we do. So you need the big four, and all coaches, not just head coaches, also need foundations of volleyball. So your assistant coaches will need to take foundations of volleyball if you're going to nationals, VolleyballConnect nationals. All head coaches, doesn't matter. So we kind of separate 12U to 14U. If you're going to nationals, there's really only 14U to 18U, but sometimes 13U teams go to the 14 nationals. You need to have taken the development coach workshop or to be development coach trained. So that's kind of also the important distinction you need to have. And then, yeah, sorry, is there a question? Oh, no, someone's on. And then all head coaches, third year plus year, if you're head coaching at nationals or for the third or more time, you need to be certified. So if it's your first or second time, you just need the workshop, you need foundations, you need the big four. If it's your third time head coaching at VolleyballConnect nationals in any age category, you need to be certified. And certification or registration for those happen in the VolleyballConnect, which we'll talk about. I'll show you how to get in there a bit later. I'll pause if there's any questions. I can't see the chat, so Glenn and Adrian, feel free to interrupt.
All good, Roy.
Okay, so this is the new volleyball education platform, the VC's new volleyball education platform. So the login, this has also been a bit confusing for people. The login is through Sport Lomo, like where you register for and log into Sport Lomo, but it's not in Sport Lomo. So sometimes they get emails from coaches or club people being like, we can't find the courses in Sport Lomo. They're not in Sport Lomo. You just register or you log in through kind of the front page of Sport Lomo, which I'll show you in a minute. VolleyballConnect has also made a really good access guide to kind of how to do that, which I've linked here, and also we'll share like the resources and links afterwards. It is a little bit annoying. At least I think it's annoying that like VolleyballConnect, like they named their platform VolleyballConnect because it's like you can't really say VC because VC is VolleyballConnect, but also VolleyballConnect. So I just call it VConnect sometimes. Um, some of the new things in this is they do have, if you have taken foundations of volleyball in the past, or you are taking it, this year, then there is a resources section for you. So that's kind of new, where they have some free resources. And there's a practice plan builder. It's a little bit in beginning stages, so it's not something like like, hey, like you for sure check this out. But it is there for you. Mhm. All right, and maybe I will try. Technology is not my. I'm gonna just switch my sharing of my screen here for a second. Well, hey, everybody, and maybe
Ryan,
I'll. Yep.
while you're switching, can you just update everybody on, I know this is being recorded. Is it going to be posted somewhere so they
Yeah, for
can have
sure.
access to it?
Yeah, we will post it and share it, and I will share. There's links in here, but I also have a slide or a PDF I'll make that will, sorry, that will have all the list, the kind of like list of links that you can kind of just go like a one-stop shop to get the links. Does that make sense? Share. All right, so I'm gonna go here. Share. All right, so I will do this now because. All right. Okay, so everybody can see where I'm at. So yours might look a little different if you're kind of logging in through Sport Lomo, in the sense of it might be like green. I might say volleyball, BC here, but this particular part is going to be the same. So, if you're going to register for an event in Sport Lomo, you're here, your membership here. Here's kind of your details and whatnot. This is sort of where people often get lost, is here. And I've pleaded with VolleyballConnect to make this more obvious, but this is where you get into VolleyballConnect, this button here. So it's like the one that's not red is the one that's actually the most important. So you would click on this,
Hold
it'll
it,
take you.
Ryan. Can I just interrupt for 1 second?
Yeah,
So, if you're a new coach to the system, it's entirely possible that your club has not registered you as a member with Volleyball BC yet. Once they register you as a member with Volleyball BC, you'll have to access the Sport Lomo registration system and create your account. So, you'll get an email. It'll say the club's registered you. You'll follow the link. It'll ask you to set up an account if you don't already have one. And then once you complete that portion, you'll see the screen that Ryan was just at that shows a member card and some of the different options that you have. So if you've never seen that screen before, don't panic. It's coming. You'll see it soon enough, and you'll be in Sport Lomo probably more than you'd like to be. But you access the VolleyballConnect system through your Sport Lomo login.
yeah, and in the presentation and in the links, and actually, if you go to the website, the coach section of the website, if you go to our VBC Coach Dev Instagram, there's a guide link in there. So I've tried to make it pretty obvious of like, for that, because it is new and it'll take a bit of time for people to know and learn the system. But once you're in, once you have your Sport Lomo account, and once you're in and connected, then you'll come to here. This will sort of be your homepage. I'm just going to show you a couple of things off the bat. So here, it's kind of a quick little drop down. There's some things in here that you guys wouldn't have, but resource kit would be one, performance coach pathway would be one. One of the new ones they also have, are kind of promoting or advertising more so than in the past, is development coach workshops, or workshops across the country. So you don't necessarily have to do a Volleyball BC workshop, development coach workshop. Obviously, we'd love to have you, but sometimes the dates or the timing doesn't work out. We often get we put on more workshops actually than any other province. So we often have coaches from other provinces. The time change works for them, or whatever it is. But that's kind of a new thing that you could find. And then they also have Smash Ball right here. You can check out my courses and learning plans, so on and so forth. So that's just a little bit of a quick drop down menu. But otherwise, you're going to go, to here. Actually, this would be important. So content and progress. So if you were in a workshop, then this is where it would show up for you. So you come in here, click on this, click on that. But if you're not, and you just want to check things out or register for something, you go to the click on the coaches section there. Yeah, and then you can see buy now for the resource kit. I guess they don't. I'm not. I guess they haven't put my foundations over. And actually, I will say that is they are still like catching up to getting what's the word? Like transferring things over from the locker and the old system into here. So you might show up here and you're like, hey, there, like my MED isn't showing up that I took last year, or my foundation isn't showing up. Okay, they're still working on all of that. So it will show up. And when it does show up, you shouldn't have to, if you're taking foundations, you shouldn't have to buy this. It should just be there for you to have. If you're wondering about coach eligibility or you forgot, you can always again find it on our website pretty easily. But you could also come here, look at that. That's for nationals. This is for each province and territory. And then this is sort of our pathway. So, these are the things that everybody has to take. Well, not necessarily have to, but these are the ones where you'd find everything. And then you're like, oh, where's the workshops? You just got to click over here, and then you could find the development coach workshop here. The online evaluation. I'm not sure how many people on what this particular meeting would need to be evaluated this year, but we're still kind of working out not we're going to it's they're having sort of an online cohort of 4 option this year, but either way you can still kind of register as an individual through here, online or in person. And if you're looking for a workshop, you go here, click on that, it'll show up. And then
Ryan, just a quick question from the
yeah,
chat.
sure.
Gary wants to know, is this linked to the locker and its training tracker?
So yeah, so basically a good question. Yeah, so anything, I'm not 100% sure what I mean by train tracker, but basically, what you do here should sync to the locker, and and the locker should be synced to here. That's a good question. The locker is the end all be all. So even if this isn't quite updated yet, like, hey, like your stuff from the previous hasn't come here, the locker, which we'll show you in a second, is kind of like where you need to go. So if it's not in the locker, then you should, worry a little bit. If it's not in here, or it's not showing up in Sport Lomo, because you can actually see some of your certifications in Sport Lomo. But then don't stress out. Just go to the locker and just check to make sure if it's there. Good questions. So here would just be some examples of finding the courses and whatnot here. Right? So pretty straightforward. I'll just quickly go down and just another spot. You can kind of see some resources. So professional development. So some of the things that are on here already. Ours will start be putting up here as well. But anybody now can access these from across the country. Some smash ball resources, sitting volleyball resources. Yeah, so this is kind of, the place to go. And it's pretty, I would say, user friendly, especially compared to Sport Lomo or the other older system we used to have. But I just want to give you a heads up because it is new. Any other question before I maybe show a
Yes,
little?
there is another one from
Yeah.
sorry for butchering your name, Kalia. Is it mandatory to take both the workshops and the evaluation?
It depends. So as I mentioned earlier, it depends on what you're coaching, your head coach, what age you're coaching. And then we actually don't have evaluations as a requirement, but if you're going to nationals, and like I mentioned, if it's your 3rd plus year being a head coach at nationals, then you will. Again, if you're not sure what you need or not need, you can find it here, H1 here, or on our website, you can find it, and or on Instagram, actually, it's also posted in there and there. Cool. I'll move over to the locker. So this is where you would find the locker, coach.ca. This is just a good kind of resource or website to link or save a bookmark. Lots of good stuff in here, more so than we probably know or realize at times. New to coaching, so this might be, if you're new to coaching, this might be something for you guys to check out. You can see education and training options, different courses that you can take, like workshops, e-learning modules. Again, anything in the NCCP is multi-sport, meaning not volleyball specific. Again, all the volleyball specific stuff is going to be in the VolleyballConnect, or if it's like a VolleyballC webinar or something like that, that would just be probably through Sport Lomo registration. But where you want to get to, what you want to get to, if you don't have, is you want to basically have an NCCP number, which hopefully you have by now. and then you log into your to your locker. So this is where that's going to be. Pretty straightforward. Log in. Okay, and I'm just going to show you a couple of quick things in here. So your profile, so you're just going to click over here, my profile. Okay, this is me. This is where I live. Don't come stalk me. And then certification. So this is where you'd want to kind of a few things where you kind of mostly want to be. Sometimes, especially if you're an older coach or if you've like stressed out and you're like, I can't remember my NCCP number, and you create two NCCP numbers. Okay. Or I don't remember my email. Okay, that's kind of where you can kind of edit some of those things. There's a lot of people that actually do have two NCCP numbers, and it can be a little bit of an issue when it comes to syncing with, Sport Lomo or VolleyballConnect. So you can just contact coach.ca and get them to merge them if you do have two NCCP numbers. But yeah, this is going to be your transcript. So you can kind of see here, this is what I was talking about before. So you can see I'm a certified development coach, and that's been transferred from the past. So that's what that shows up. So if you are an older coach and you're coaching again, and it says trained development coach or certified development coach transferred, then you can see here, I actually don't have the development coach workshop in my training because I have it. My training from the past was an equivalent to be certified. And then these are kind of your NCCP, like if you're taking non-NCCP stuff, but really most of your stuff is going to be down. Sorry, I obviously have a lot of training. Well, maybe not obvious, but you're going to be looking for here. So making ethical decisions evaluation, that's an important one. And then safe sport and making headway somewhere in there. Do I not have making headway? Yeah, I can't even see too many things going on. There are a couple other courses you can take that are equivalents to making headway. One other one you can look for if you are an older coach and you basically you've certified from the past. Once you're certified, actually, even if you're a newer coach, once you become certified, not just Volleyball Canada, but like the Coaching Association of Canada wants to make sure you're continuing with some professional development. So you can't just like check the box and I'm done. So you can kind of see here for this called a maintenance program. That's the little tab here. So maintenance, so it's every 5 years. So mine started in 2023, my last cycle, and it will end in 2028. And I have to keep my advanced development certification, I have to get 20 points. Okay. So I already have that. I mean, partly because this is my job, so I get to collect lots of free points. Like we're gonna at Tim Hortons get lots of free points there. And then yeah, you have 5 years to get it. So you can kind of see there's not, NCCP 15, there's no limit to how many you can get. You actually get 1 point a year for coaching up to 5. So if you're coaching school volleyball or club volleyball, you get 5 points just right there. It's not that hard to get 20 points, but you do kind of have to do some things, and it's just their way of making sure that you're not just not learning anymore, develop anymore. There's lots of ways you can do it if you go to a coaching conference, volleyball, not volleyball. Yeah. So anyways, that's what that is. So that's probably important to know. Yeah, I'll pause there. Any questions before I kind of close this screen?
Oh, there's two in the chat, right?
Sure.
If it's your second year going to nationals, is a development coach workshop good enough?
Yeah, so if it's not so much if you're going to nationals, it's if it's your third or more time head coaching at nationals, then you need to be certified, or you at least need to be registered for an evaluation. They will give exemptions because there's a bit of a backlog with evaluations. As long as you're registered for an evaluation and you've kind of done your part, then you'll get an exemption or you'll get an evaluation. Yeah.
Perfect. And the other one is if the development coach certification expires in 361 days, how do you get it recertified?
Yeah, so it doesn't expire, and like I was just talking about, once you're a certified coach, you have 5 years. So let's say Glenn gets certified January next year, 2026, he'd have 5 years. So 31, wow, to get 20 points. So again, you can get a coaching symposium, which we have 2 coming up this year in person. You would get 3 points for being that. The reason I asked for your NCCP number to come to this meeting tonight when you register for the workshop is because you will get one pro D point tonight. Again, if you're not certified yet, it doesn't really matter. It's just if you're certified. So you just need 20 points over 5 years.
And another one from Kevin just popped up. If a coaching position is not showing up in the locker, how do we get it added?
Sorry. If a coaching position is not showing, how do we, what is it?
So I guess Kevin coached a team and it's not showing.
Yeah, can you hear me okay, guys?
Yeah, go
hey,
ahead, Kev.
Kevin. Of
Yeah,
course it's you. Come on, man.
yeah. It's just if we coach a high school team, and I'm
Yeah.
assuming the high school has to register that or
Mm,
if
yeah.
it didn't get through.
That's a good question, Kevin. So yeah, you actually have to input it
Okay,
yourself. So you can self-report. I
perfect.
will share in my follow-up email the link to that. I'll look at it, sorry, on their webpage. But yeah, so there's like this for an example, anything that's hosted by a PSO or an NSO or like as a workshop module, it'll automatically get put in for you. But if you're wanting to get, a coach at 1 point for each year of coaching, you have to self-report that. Yeah.
Super.
Good question. Awesome. Any other questions?
That's it, right?
Okay. All right. I moved this over to here. So maybe, that should still be here. So I don't have to. Okay. Moving on. Hopefully. All right. Okay. So one of the things, I think I just recently posted in our coach Dev Instagram is, I saw this kind of clip on Instagram or something, social media, about Steve Kerr talking about his coaching. And he, before he became the head coach of the Spurs, he went and talked to all these, other head coaches, and he was talking with Pete Carroll, and, what his thing was, basically, hey, well, how are you going to coach? And he's like, well, what do you mean? Like, what offensive system? I said, no, like, how are you going to coach? Like, what's going to be, like, how do you want to coach your athletes? How do you want to be, them to view you, or what do you want your program to be like? So that's, why I'm starting with this particular of like figuring out like your mission, vision, and values as a coach versus like the X's and O's. I think it's actually the most important thing and probably the thing that actually gets ignored the most. So this is why we're starting with this. So mission, why do you coach? Vision, what does success look like? And your values, how does it show up daily? You can see in the bracket there, TOC. So they're TOC Culture Consulting. Anyways, they're basically an organization that we partner with that it's not volleyball specific. It's these kind of soft skills that we're talking about. And we had a partnership with them, and it was like 50% off their Foundations of Coaching course, which is different than the Volleyball Foundations of Coaching course, which is basically walking you through this. It was $50 American, so we got it for 25 American. It looks like as of like this week, they just updated their whole system, so that discount link isn't working anymore. So I'll have to follow up with them. Either way, I think it's quite it's worth the money. And these are some of the things that they'll walk through with you. So know your why. We coach to help athletes grow as players, teammates, and people, not just to win matches. Clear visions and standards. We set clear expectations for effort, attitude, behaviors, so athletes know what success looks like. Positive team culture. We focus on trust, connection, and accountability. Athletes feel supported and challenged. Teach, then compete. Practices are for learning, development, and matches are opportunities to apply those skills in real situations. And the last one is consistent communication. We aim to be transparent, respectful, and proactive with athletes and parents. So that's kind of a little bit of a summary of their course. But again, you're going to have to create and go through and walk through, what you want your coaching philosophy to be. I am trying to kind of create, actually, I'm just trying to figure out a way to get it up on our website, sort of like a guide to kind of filling out like a fillable sort of worksheet through using, it wasn't ChatGPT, but using another one, Gemini maybe. So that will be coming soon, but the course, in my opinion, is like, worth the money, that Foundations of Volleyball, not volleyball, Foundations of Coaching. This is something else that I think is really important. It's the quality coaching movement. These are the 4 C's. And Jean Cote is actually a Canadian professor at Queen's University. And so he's kind of created this sort of quality coaching framework. And so these, we can kind of take these 4 things with us when we're coaching. Quality coaching puts people first, creates positive experiences, and helps athletes grow in skill, confidence, character, and connection. Yeah, so competence is the skill area. So helping, obviously that's important. We want our athletes to be able to do what we want them to do, to set, to serve, to pass, and get an understanding of the game. But that's like not the only part of what quality coaching is about. So confidence, athletes are encouraged, supported, and challenged in ways that help them believe in themselves. Connection, we focus on positive relationships. Athletes feel respected, valued, and a part of the team. And character, we emphasize effort, respect, responsibility, and sportsmanship on and off the court. So often these other three C's get ignored a little bit. Often, our X's and O's minds as coaches sometimes kind of override, these other three C's that are really important, and we forget about them. And that's really why I think having your coaching philosophy laid out, well, not just laid out, but you're kind of checking in on it. You're making sure what you're doing, how you're behaving, what your athletes are doing are representative of what you want to create on the court, on and off the court. One of the things that if you're new to coaching a team or club in this case, working with parents is something you kind of need to be mindful of. So one of the other courses actually that TOC that we partnered with them provided is actually called Working with Sports Parents. So this is sort of a summary of that workshop, I guess. But again, definitely think it's worth it. And I'll reach out tomorrow, because it was just today that I realized the link wasn't working anymore because it was working last week. So even if it's not the full, if you don't get a discount, I still think it's worth it. Because this can make or break your season, to be honest. So if those who have coached here in the room for a while probably know and understand that. So these are some of the best practices for working with parents. So set clear expectations early, establish communication standards, team culture, and what respectful involvement looks like before the season starts. Build relationships and based on trust and respect. Treat parents as partners in supporting athlete development, not as adversaries. Engage parents, don't just tolerate them. So provide structured ways for parents to be involved in positive team activities, example, volunteering for roles, and provide consistent, honest communication. Help parents feel informed and valued by keeping them in the loop regularly, and encourage dialogue. Invite parents to ask questions and share perspectives in a calm, structured setting rather than reacting emotionally. Again, this is just a quick summary, and it's helpful, I think, but I would encourage you guys to check out that course. Another big thing that comes up with coaching club that can cause tensions and issues is playing time and expectations. So one of the other people we partner with and who I promote their stuff quite a bit is a guy named Joe Trinzi. He has a Substack called Smarter Volleyball, and he has a lot of free stuff, but then there's some stuff that's behind a paywall. Definitely 100% you should follow him. I'll have his link to subscribe to his newsletter. And he was actually this is one of his more summarized a little bit of one of his more recent articles, kind of setting up, this expectations for the season. And this was actually, it says Joe Trinzi on the quote, but this is what his dad is a volleyball guy too, said, people can stand to be disappointed, but they hate to be surprised. And so, the more you can kind of have clear expectations and communications, the better. So this was his take on this, and I agree with a lot of it, and some of it actually I had never thought about or heard about before, and I kind of liked the way he looked at it. But playing time is distributed, not equal. Everyone plays each match. No one plays all the time, and no one sits the whole time. Again, your club might have a playing time philosophy. They may or may not. Obviously, 14U, fair play, 13U, fair play. But once we get beyond that, you need to start making some decisions. My encouragement to you, as someone who's worked in volleyball my whole life, who's watched and seen players and coaches do all kinds of things, is you should start with the end in mind and development of those players and teams. Some of the best teams and coaches that I know play their kids, play everybody. And, regardless of what you decide to do, though, you just need to have some clear communication and guidelines around how you're going to do that and why you're going to do it that way. And maybe bounce some things off of some other coaches that have been in the game for a while. He used this decisions are based on 3A's, attitude, attendance, and ability, which I like and agree with. Volleyball playing time is different. It's not like in basketball or hockey where you can kind of track minutes. So, typical set 25 points in a set, 12 rotations, which can vary based on game flow. So clear playing time ranges. Players generally tend to fall into 25%, 50%, or 70% of rotations. So, hey, you're going to play, 3 rotations in a set or in a game or whatever it is. And then there's some flexibility, obviously, match to match, but them kind of knowing that a little bit versus just not being sure, like, am I ever going to play? Am I in this game? Am I here at all? And in this particular article or Substack, whatever that he wrote, he kind of laid out like how he has every match already planned out, like who's playing what match and whatnot, which I really like, just kind of sticking to it. And obviously, that might change a little bit between play out like a play day and a super series and provincials, but at least having a plan and going for it. So define roles plus growth focus. Players have identified strengths, clear expectations, and specific areas to improve when playing time adjusted accordingly. Example earlier versus gold bracket matches. I think this is also important to like what coach players are often wondering, like, how do I get on the floor? Or parents are often wondering that, like, why isn't my son or daughter playing? So, having some feedback opportunities, whether it's sort of a little report card or a little Google sheet you're using, or having positional meetings at some tournaments to talk about what everybody's doing well, what as a group they need to work on, or maybe specifically what little Joey needs to work on to kind of see more playing time. I think those things are really important, just to communicate and give them, hey, what do they need to do? Because I think, kids and parents are, as long as they know and they have a way and they feel like, they're not left in the dark, then generally speaking, as long as you stick to your word and, if they're improving on those things, then give them the opportunity, then I think they're usually pretty good with it. So I'm not going to give like detailed practice plans. I'll link some in the documents. I'm guessing some people in your club already have some practice plans, but what I will share is kind of this what I really value is called the golden thread. So what a golden practice looks like. So plan. So even like a simple plan, don't just show up and kind of just wing it. I have this idea of theme days. I really like that. So, like I mentioned, I coached a lot. And I coached with Trinity Western for 7 years, 3 with the women, 4 with the men, and was sort of Ben Joe's assistant coach there for the 4 years. And we had like theme days, as in Monday was always the same. Monday was offensive rhythm, Tuesday was defense, Wednesday was offense systems, and then Thursday we're playing games. So as a coach, I just think that really allows you to just have a plan and stick with it. So if you're practicing 2 days a week, hey, Mondays we're going to do, serve pass and offense systems, and Tuesday or whatever, Wednesday we're going to do serve pass and defensive systems, individual defense, then you kind of know already, this is what we're doing. Active, so minimum standing, game relevant, age appropriate. So that's kind of that. I like the golden thread better. This is from Great Britain Field Hockey, who has a really great sort of framework for development. And they call it the golden thread. So if you can do these 5 things in your practice, like even if you don't know too much about volleyball, you're gonna be doing well. So if you can make it fun, if the kids are having fun, if the kids get lots of touches, I can't tell you how many times I walk in practices and like not just volleyball but soccer or whatever. It's just like some big lines, kids are doing nothing. Like it's so easy. Just think about when you're designing your practices or your drills, like how do I have these kids getting lots of touches? How do I have them moving and having fun? Okay. Stretch is this idea, like it has to be the appropriate amount of stretch for that athlete or your team. If you're coaching 14, 15 kids, probably that's going to vary a little bit, right? So, hey, this is the drill for our team, but Johnny's really great at this, so I'm going to challenge him a little bit differently. And, little Jimmy's a little bit not, so I'm going to challenge him a little bit differently. But what's the appropriate amount of stretch? We don't want to stretch them too far so they are unsuccessful and break, but we also, kids want to be challenged. They want to try to get better at things. So if we kind of think about that, is this drill, is it a good enough stretch for our team or my team? And is it a good enough stretch for this individual? If not, then I'm going to give them maybe a little bit of their own challenge to kind of stretch them more. It looks something like the game. So if you've taken any of Volleyball Canada's courses, the Development Coach Workshop, or foundations, they will call these M2 or M3 drills, like simulated play. So it's some sort of volleyball happening. The ball's going over a net, like with a serve or a set over, and it's a pass, and it's a set, and it's a hit, and maybe it's 3-on-3 or 2-on-2, but it looks like volleyball. Okay, the more it can look like volleyball, the better, because we want to have constant decision making. We always want to be making decisions. So, I used to do a lot of work and travel around the world and work in some pretty poor countries. And those kids would destroy, my kids are 8, 10, and 13. They would destroy my kids, school, like, club teams, school soccer club teams, even though they don't have shoes, they don't have real coaches, because they just play. They play soccer all the time, night and day. They just play. Eventually, obviously, coaching matters, but they're just learning how to make decisions, like, what do I do in this situation? And so that's really, really important when we're learning. If we're learning a new skill, heck yeah, we need to maybe slow it down, like block the skill, but that's going to happen for a lot less than we think. So in the practice plan, I'll demonstrate, kind of share with you guys a little bit here as an example. You'll kind of see it's like 10, 15 minutes, I think. But make it as much as we can, similar to a game, because they need to make a decision. Is it my ball or is it your ball? Like, how far do I need to pass it to the net? How close am I to the net? How do I actually receive a ball? And how do I actually set a ball that's being passed from somebody? So that's really important. So if you can do the golden thread, you'll be golden. Maybe I'll pause there. Is there any questions, Glenn?
Nope, been quiet so far.
All right. Okay. Oh, here's a little video. Let's see if this works.
Inspire your players and get the best out of them. 1. Training should look something like the game. Sessions should be similar to playing the game. Drills aren't the best way to learn. They can be too repetitive and players can easily get bored. 2. Stretch players. Everyone learns at different speeds, and it's the skill of a coach to challenge each individual to be the best they can be. 3. Constant decision-making. Players are more likely to improve if they get to practice their skills in a game setting, making decisions as they would in a real match. 4. Touches of the ball. Make sure your players get as many touches of the ball as possible. This is what they come to training for, and it's the best way of keeping enthusiasm high and supporting their development. 5. Make it fun. Everyone improves when they enjoy the sessions. The Golden Thread training principles help you create effective coaching sessions, which in turn creates happy and passionate players who are able to achieve their full potential. And who knows where that might lead?
All right. I should talk with a British accent. It would have been better. All right. So we'll touch really briefly on simple practice framework. So warm up, moving, getting our bodies warm, touching a ball, skill development, make sure we have a very clear, specific focus, game-like, decision making. Decisions are greater than perfection, and then reinforce learning with a wrap up. So this is a practice plan I took from Gold Medal Squares, kind of hit up here on the right. So one of the things in the link, so we have a partnership with Gold Medal Square. They're an online, coaching development tool online. And as VolleyballConnect members and coaches, we get 50% off of that. So I believe normally like $100 US, and so it'd be $50 US. And it has videos, skills and drills, like all this stuff. This is just an example of their practice plan. Their practice plans are always linked to linked to a video, and they have links to each drill and how they work, and it's really great. So definitely would encourage you to do that. I would even say ask your club if they can cover the cost for you. In my opinion, worth it. But this kind of talk about like the little warm up. So this, toss, pass, catch here. Again, really simple. 10 minutes. They're just working on attacking keys, or in this case, passing here. Then they do a little bit of attacking footwork. So they have some keys, very specific, written out. What they're focusing on, 1, 2, 3, not a ton, but enough. They kind of have their athletes listed out here. The US does some things a little bit different. They call them pin hitters, or they do in this case. Then they have their drills here, pass or don't pass. So learning, they're passing to attacking footwork. That's what that is. And then they play a game. So again, it looks something like a game. So, this is a bit more blocked or M1 drill. This is now looking like the game with decision. So they're playing a game called Doghouse. And, it's kind of the opposite of Queen's Court. If you lose, you stay on the defensive side, which kind of allows like the winners to work on like passing to attacking, which is great. And then they work a bit on their footwork and go from there. And then they put it into, sort of a pass to attack kind of game. So this is called on the mat, which is they're basically, passing, setting, hitting, and then trying to, attack a ball to a mat or to a target area. And then they have a little wash game here at the end. So, whoops, sorry. So yeah, very simple, very basic. Sorry, I'm trying to get I had a little, sorry, the little thing on the Zoom is like right on where my button is to go back. Anyways, oh, that's not good. How do I drag to move? All right. Oh, I did move it and then it won't go. There we go. Okay. Yeah, so this will again be linked. So has video library, volleyball coach drills, community live webinars. I was going to show you, but I won't, just for the sake of time. But this will be the code. Again, I'll put that link in the list, but it'll be linked here. Login. Again, to me, even if you're not a new coach, just worth it. Just worth it to have something very simple. And like they do a really good job of kind of having a unified philosophy. There are other good programs out there, like Art of Coaching. The difference, say, with Art of Coaching is it's just kind of a like taking like a buffet. It's like this coach does this coach, where GMS is actually sort of a like there's the same principles, philosophies, and they all kind of work together. So as a new coach, this is where I definitely would start, and then kind of as you kind of understand what works and doesn't work for you and your team, and then maybe you can kind of find some other resources to beef up.
Ryan, a quick question from
Yep.
Arnold in the chat. Are the practices pre-made if you subscribe, or is it like a library that you just pull drills and make your own practice plan?
Yeah, no, both actually. They have they have like and you can go on and look for free, I'm pretty sure, and browse, but they have both of those. You can make your own practices, or you could even they have like a full season like practice plans out for you, where they would have, again, kind of listed out. They have a video, they have a detailed drawing like we just saw, they'd have a descriptor of the different drills. Yeah, it's pretty robust. And then they do also offer kind of courses. I think some of those are free with GMS Plus, and some of them are behind a paywall. But the $50 or whatever it is definitely has the video resources, the drill resources. And the nice thing is they just updated that platform where now it's an app so you can have that on your phone, so you can just have your practice plan right there on your phone or your iPad or whatever.
So it's similar as Art of Coaching, where there's some free stuff and some that you have to pay for. And
it's similar, yeah. But again, VBCs have a discount. We don't have anything lined up with Art of Coaching, and it's different to Art of Coaching where it's like a unified philosophy. So yeah, it's like this is the menu. This is what you go to a nice restaurant, like this is what we're serving tonight, versus kind of just choosing what works. And I think, as a new coach, I would really encourage that. And they do, really good stuff. Any other good questions? All right, so just a quick thing on how athletes learn. So, we learn better by external cues or analogy, asking questions, or let them solve problems. Coaching is about facilitating learning, not delivering information. So this is also kind of a form of what's called motivational interviewing, or learning how to ask better questions. Definitely, if you're like into learning or geeking out on some things, motivational interviewing is pretty interesting. So athlete-centered coaching means asking open-ended questions like, what did you notice? What did you feel? How did that feel? What would you do different next time? Listening more than talking or telling. And let athletes find their own solutions. And sometimes I use this Where's Waldo analogy. I used to do the Where's Waldo with my kids when they were young at bedtime. And, instead of like, I could, like, here's Waldo, like I could, easily find Waldo. But, but that wouldn't be fun for them, or they wouldn't really learn that. So, if they were struggling, maybe I would just say, hey, maybe he's over in this part over here, just kind of guided discovery, versus just like giving them answers and telling them what to do. That's not really how people learn. I want to go back actually one. So just because I think I had some notes here Just an example of what external cues or analogies would be. So I'll give you an example of setting. And I'm going to start kind of putting some of these things out on our Instagram channel in the new year. But an example of that would be, instead of, kind of being very internally focused, like this is, wrists at 90 degrees and all that stuff, we want to give them pictures, personality. So I use these 3 or 4 or 5 R's. So, like we're ready to set, ready to run. So that ready position is like, hey, if we were to play knee tag, like what would that be like? You know what I mean? Versus like stand with your knees bent and whatever. It's like, just give them that picture. Or if we were having a conversation, like, would you be facing me or would you be not facing me as far as being ready to receive the pass? Or pretend you're a hockey goalie and I'm taking a slap shot at you. Like, how would you stand if you were in that situation? You'd be facing me. You wouldn't be standing sideways to the net. And that's an example. Another one would be like when our rhythm to the ball. So we're ready to set and we have a rhythm. And we talk about, you're going to like 1, 2, like step push. So if your brother or your knowing brother's over there at position 4 in the antenna, right? If you're going to push them, like what would that look like? You'd be like going forward at the same time. You step, you wouldn't push them and then step, or you wouldn't step and then push. You do it at the same time. So that's kind of another example of like how you can use an analogy or a picture to help them learn. And a release. So I often with set a release, I talk about like a train track. So like, hey, where's the train? Like, where's your station starting? And often I coach in Langley, like coach privates in Langley. So often I make jokes like, we don't want to be like down in like South Surrey. We want to be, up in Langley, or down in the States. That's, even worse. So let's, be up in Langley and let's, finish our track up to North Vancouver, and let's make sure our wheels stay on the track all the way. So that kind of idea, kids or athletes in any age level will really grasp a lot easier. And the fun thing about that is you can kind of really tailor it to like athletes like specifically. So I had a setter that I used to work with, and she was a hockey player, and she used to do this kind of really big kind of wind up to kind of get to her hands to her setting spot. And so I said, hey, it's like, it's like right now you're like taking a slap shot, this huge wind up. Okay, I just need you to take like a snapshot. I just need you to get your hands up here quick and set. And because she was a hockey player, she like instantly got it. She was just connected to that. So, that's a cool way to like, hey, what are you into? What do you like? And then kind of finding pictures to help them understand. There'll be some general pictures, obviously, that, all athletes will kind of understand, but that's kind of a fun part of coaching and using external cues and analogies instead of just sort of, bend your elbows and like, like do this. So they don't really will learn that well, but also you can, in the middle of a game, you can say that to her, hey, like snapshot. And she's like, oh yeah, she'll quickly remember what that looks like and what that feels like. Okay. All right. We're getting close to the end. And then we'll have Glenn go. So here's just sort of a kind of a summary of some of the things, 10 tips I think that will help you guys be successful this year. So again, some of this we covered already. Start with your why. So be clear on why you coach, what success actually looks like for this team, development, enjoyment, growth, not just wins. So you got to create your coaching philosophy. You got to figure out your values as a coach and figure out your why. Set standards early and live them daily. Co-create simple, clear standards for effort, attitude, and behavior, and then reinforce them consistently, right? Like culture is what's allowed. So if you want your culture to be this way, you got to make sure what's going against your culture, you're not allowing to happen. Build relationships before systems. So players don't really care how much you know until they know you care. Connection fuels trust, effort, and learning. Again, going back to those 4 C's from quality coaching. Communicate simply and often. Say less, say clearly, and repeat the important things. Confusion kills confidence. And again, that goes even to that playing time that we were talking about earlier. Let's just make sure clear is kind. I think that was a Brene Brown quote. Create a positive learning environment. So mistakes are part of development. Encourage risk-taking, learning, and resilience, not fear of failure. I can't tell you that's huge. When I do my private lessons, like I do not let parents stick around to watch, only because I don't want the athlete to be worried about making mistakes when their parents kind of sitting there, because that's not what learning is about. Like they need to learn how to learn. And so if their mom or dad's just sitting there watching them blast balls out the back or like mess up royally because they're in this learning phase. I always talk about learning as like a check mark. We're always going to go down before we go up. So you have to foster that. You have to celebrate when your athletes are making these mistakes, taking big risks, as long as they're in the right direction, they're positive errors versus like a negative error. So if we're working on high hitting, a positive error would be we hit the ball out the back versus into the net. So just make sure you encourage that and create that and support those things. All right, last 5, plan practice with the purpose. So yeah, have some set, like, what are we doing today? And again, if you go back to that themes, like, well, we know it's Monday, so we know we're working on offense at least. So we can start there. Every practice should have a clear focus, progressive and game-like learning. Busy does not equal effective. Teach the why, not just the what. Help athletes understand why skills, tactics, and behaviors matter. This builds smarter and more adaptable players. Partner with parents, don't fight them. Set expectations early. Communicate roles clearly and focus everyone on the athlete's long-term development. Excuse me. And reflect and adjust regularly. So with Team EC, we have this kind of principle we call plan, do, review. So you plan the practice, the practice happens, you review the practice. You should do that with your assistant coaches, whether it's 5 minutes right after practice or, a little text thread you guys going on. Hey, what do you guys think? Or I didn't really like this. What do you guys think about this? Yeah, plan, do, and then review. So after you do it, just kind of repeat that. So same thing for tournaments. Hey, this was our plan for this weekend. How did it go? What didn't go well? What are we doing differently next weekend? With your lineups, with your playing time, with your coaching, but also maybe with even how you interact and work with your parents. All right, and the last one is enjoy the season. Your energy matters. When coaches are calm, prepared, and positive, teams follow. All right, and this is one thing that we just want to be aware of. So athlete safety and reporting. So on our Volleyball BC website, we have a Safe Sport Hub. And I'll share that in the links, but we have our resources on concussions, on physical injuries, on abuse and maltreatment. So if you're dealing with that within your team, this is where you can go. Mental health resources, which we all know is a big deal in today's day and age. And then if you need to report a complaint, then you kind of know where that is as well. All right, and then I'm going to hand over to Glenn here in a second, but match day behavior, just real quickly, try to stay composed, focus on the next play, and model your behavior for the athletes. And I know most coaches have good intentions, but often we let, our competition or our competitive nature or ego for some people, we can get distracted from the why, and then we don't really model what we want our athletes to be doing. So, your poor behavior impacts your team, and your club for future seasons. So just stick with that. And, I'll be sharing lots of tips throughout the year. Again, if you don't follow us on Volleyball Coach Instagram, I suggest you do. But I'm going to pass over to Glenn at this point in time because, he's good. He's our head official guy.
Thanks, Roy. There's a couple of questions in the chat. Can you
Sure.
Take them just in the chat?
Yes.
And I'll take over from here. Thanks for having me, Ryan, and good to see everybody online. A lot of names I recognize. Some of you I've worked with in the past. For those that don't know me, my name's Glenn Wheatley. I'm the referee development manager for Volleyball BC. I've been reffing and coaching for over 40 years. I've been at it for a long time and have done both roles. So Ryan asked me to come here not to talk about rules. I'm going to touch on some of the changes that we've made this year, but we're not going to get into in-depth discussion on rules. I'd be happy to open that up in the chat later if you have any questions. I'm mainly here to discuss coach-referee relationships and how we can continue to do a good job in building that so that we can have a calm place for all athletes to grow up. Volleyball has always been a passion of mine, and I was drawn into it just because of the energy and the camaraderie of the sport. And like I said, I've been doing it for a long time. Ryan mentioned your energy matters, and I was going to tell a quick story about somebody that he mentioned who was a good friend of mine. Ben Josephson coached at Trinity Western back in the day, and Ben used to be one of the biggest hotheads as a coach when he first started. He was really young. He was trying to make his way in the coaching world in an environment that was very toxic at the time. And for his first 3 or 4 years, he was a yeller and a screamer. And then when his team started getting good, his total demeanor changed, and he became the most easygoing coach that you would ever come across. And one day I just went up to him and we had a conversation about why he decided to change. And he just looked at me and said, Glenn, I realize that when I'm angry, my team gets angry. They don't play as well. When I'm calm, my team plays more calm and they deal with what they need to deal with. So people can change. And I've seen over the years, our relationship with coaches has gotten way better. And I obviously I'm here to support that we can continue to do that. But also, I've also noticed that over the years, our relationship with parents is getting more strained. We have more parents that are coming out abusing referees from the sidelines. Our referee retention rates have been awful for a long time. And at Volleyball BC and Volleyball Canada, we're trying to make changes that will help that. The number one thing that we're doing is we're in the next 3 years, we're pushing to have 2 referees on all courts at all age groups for development purposes. So we're not sending 14, 15-year-old kids out to referee matches with adult coaches in a hostile environment with no support. My job as the allocator for club season is to make sure we're putting partners on matches that the referees are going to use the opportunity to develop, so you're not feeling like you're out there on your own. Right now, in some zones, we don't have the referee base needed to do that on all matches. We're attempting to get there and continue to develop our referee base. Right now, we've got over 350 certified registered referees in the system. So come club season, we're going to be over 400. In order to get to where we need to be, we're going to need in the 500 range. I don't think we're going to get there this year, but we're definitely attempting to do that. So my ask of you as coaches is to take responsibility for your parents on your team. If you're a club director, that should be one thing that you're discussing with all your coaches. There has been talk about the purple card and the green card. I know if some of you are from the island, they've been using the green card in high school. Purple card's been used in Ontario to call out parents that are not being sportsmanlike. We've decided to not go that route for a number of reasons, but we do have a code of conduct that it will be posted at all events, at least the major events, and we will be following that. So please make sure your parents are aware of that, and we continue to work on our behavior. Just quickly going over some of the new rules that, and Adrian, feel free to jump in if I'm missing anything. Hand passing at younger ages is now allowed off serve receive. We've lowered the age group for liberos down to 15U and above, I believe, and we are not using 2 liberos at any age group, so that is not a thing. We still aren't allowing assistant coaches to stand and coach, so assistant coaches can momentarily stand up, give a suggestion and sit back down, but they're not allowed to stand on the sidelines and coach. You can walk into the warm-up area, give a quick instruction and go sit back down, but you're not allowed to stand for a prolonged time in the warm-up area. Adrian, is there anything else that's new this year that I'm missing?
Did you talk about unlimited substitutions?
Oh, correct. Yes, thank God for that. Referees are going to be very happy in that we're using 12 unlimited substitutions for all age groups, so and all tiers. So it's not this tier is going to have this and this one's going to have that. So referees aren't going to have to worry about that anymore. So that's a big plus for us. I know coaches feel differently depending on what age group they're using. But for referees, that's going to be a big thing for us for consistency.
Just a couple of notes, further notes. Number one, if you're playing in a fair play age group, so 12, 13, 14, that rule only applies in the third set. There's still no regular substitutions during the first two sets. And then the second thing, the other rule that is being implemented, it's not really a rule, I guess, but the net height change for 15U girls is moving to 2.24 meters. So it will play the same as 16U girls, 17U girls, and 18U girls.
Yeah, so girls only has 2 net heights now for all the age groups, and boys has 3. So that's it for rules. If there's anything, can setters move on the serve? We have not changed anything on positional faults yet. It's the same as it was last year. Same with the double contact on balls that are staying on your own side. That is not a thing yet either. So just because you've been watching it on TV doesn't mean it's moved into our club system. So nothing has changed on those rules. It might next year. That's a Volleyball Canada decision, but we'll see where that goes. And just a reminder, because we're trying to get 2 referees on as many courts as we can, we're not going to probably have as many head refs floating in around the club normal tournaments. We still will have RMT, our referee management team, at all our big events. And just a reminder that our RMTs have the ability to walk on a court whenever they see fit and issue a sanction. So if they feel a young referee is being abused during a match, they will walk onto the court and teach the young referee how to give a sanction properly, and then go over to the score sheet and record it. So if you are around and see a referee management team member doing that, they are allowed to do that. That is that's all I have, Ryan. Anybody have any questions?
I have a question, Glenn.
Go ahead, Jamal.
Did you say that serve receive for all ages are allowed? No?
Is it all ages? Yeah, it's all the way down to 12 and 13. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
So question for you, Adrian. So when you say serve receive, does that include the initial toss of the triple ball? Is that considered a serve, or does the triple ball toss still
triple ball toss will still be a forearm pass?
Okay. So that's something that we need to clarify for everyone.
There's a question, Adrian, I don't know if you want to answer about, or Glenn, maybe the first one. Can you restate the fair play rules for third set and 14U?
Mm-hmm. I'll take that, Adrian, if you want. So for third set, anybody can play, and it's 12 unlimited substitutions for the third set. So if you've got 9 players on a team, any 6 of those can play. Oh, perfect. That is one thing I forgot to write down. Thank you for the reminder. Minor officials, really important this year. We are not having any mandatory assigned minor officials. All minor officials are coming from the teams that are playing, and that's going throughout the season. It can be anybody, players on the bench, injured players, or parents. So you're not going to be given an assignment to minor officiate matches that you're not participating in. That'll make it easier, and it'll make it more difficult, obviously. We've tried everything. Hopefully this works well. As far as scorekeeping clinics, we are not, we will be running scorekeeper in-person clinics if a club wants to put one on. But there will be a charge for that. We ran free clinics for the last 2 years, and they weren't very well received. And we actually had more clubs cancel on us and actually go through with them. So we've partnered this year with VOS. Matthew Penner is a coach and a referee and has come up with a really good online program for teaching scorekeeping. There is a slight cost for that. It's $5 per person, so per code. I have sent an email out that apparently had a typo in his email address, so it's being resent tomorrow to all the club directors, who will forward it to all the coaches. So if you are interested in getting some of your parents some scorekeeper training, I think it would be a really good benefit for them to do it. It's almost like doing a first aid clinic in that it's about an hour online. There's modules. He's speaking over it, so you're not just looking at the slides and trying to figure it out yourself. He's explaining everything, and then there's little exams for each module that you have to pass in order to move to the next module. So there is some training to go along to make sure that you're actually getting through it. So we're trying that this year. We're encouraging. There are some clubs that do a really good job of doing in-house training. We're not trying to take anything away from that. So there is no mandatory requirement to do this training, but if you do need some help with your parents, feel free to reach out to either myself or Matthew when you get his email address.
And I just so you know, Glenn, or everybody knows, I will have a bunch of links. Like I mentioned, I'll probably post them in the chat as well here in a moment. But Matthew's VOS is one of those links that will be on there, and he does, like I mentioned, he has a $5 score sheet, but he also has a like kind of a cheat sheet, just like a free downloadable cheat sheet. He also has free downloadable roster stickers. And all that kind of stuff. So some pretty good resources on there for free, and then the $5 score sheet training.
Yeah, I know both Ryan and myself have worked with Matthew for a number of years, and he's a referee and a coach, so he has a vested interest, and all his school training is done trying to develop a business that helps companies, I guess, in technology. So, I'm all for supporting Matthew in his endeavors, and we'll see where this goes this year. Any other questions? Did I miss anything in the chat?
There was one just specifically about triple ball.
Yeah, I think we got that one.
Okay. Awesome. Thanks, Glenn.
Awesome. Thanks, Ryan.
Okay. Any questions not related to officiating or anything you would like to know while Adrian and myself are here, and Glenn, I guess. Like I will share the PowerPoint. I'll share the recording. I'll share just a straight up PDF with the links to all this kind of stuff. And on a few things on the list that I didn't actually touch base on, but if you go to our coaching section of the website, it kind of has most of these resources, including links to our Volleyball Coach Development Hub, which is like a Google Drive with lots of resources in there. Our YouTube channel, which is kind of some curated videos, our Instagram as well, and then other links to other things as well. One of the things I will mention too, my email is coach@volleyballbc.org, and I'm happy to help in any way I can in regards to coaching questions. If you have, if it's in regard to, what your certification is or whatnot, I will probably gently guide you towards your club. All of your clubs have somebody that should be tracking that for you and should be able to help with that for you. And my job is to kind of help them. or I'll share some information on how you can check. Again, the locker is the end all be all. Any requirements you need, you can find on our website or in VolleyballConnect. But I know what it's like. I know most of you are, all of you are volunteers in some form or fashion, working other jobs, and maybe getting paid a little bit. But I know there's a lot to navigate. And yeah, so I'm happy to help any way I can. If you could have any question about assistant coaching or whatever it is, that's the stuff I like to talk about, not so much like coach requirements. So happy to do that. Most people don't take me up on that offer. Kevin has recently, and I've chatted with him on the phone. Yeah, but that's what I'm here for, and I will be starting to kind of put out some more just sort of tidbits on our VBC Coach Dev Instagram. So follow that along. But that's also kind of, I would say, to go as far as like upcoming events with workshops or coaching symposiums or webinars. If you've been around for a while, we've had quite a few webinars in the past. We will have those as well this year. I'm just about to launch those or announce those. And some of those are volleyball related, some of those are soft skill related, but either way, there'll be some of those, and then we are going to have an in-person coaching clinic, or two, sorry, this year, at least two. One's coming up January 15th in Kelowna in conjunction with UBCO. And another one will be in conjunction with U Sport Nationals for women, which is being hosted by Trinity Western. So that'll be March 15th. So that will be a pretty cool weekend. I think we'll also be hosting a couple age group tournaments that weekend in Langley, or in this area anyways. And but that coaching symposium will be in conjunction with the nationals. So coaches who attend that will obviously get to come to the coaching conference, but get to attend. Tickets will be included to the national semifinals that Saturday night, and then the finals will be played on the Sunday. So pretty cool weekend of volleyball potentially coming up.
Ryan, we're doing a referee. I'll call it for a symposium now, for lack of better terminology, at that same Trinity weekend.
Cool. Awesome. This may be an Adrian question, or maybe some other people in the chat. Any tips on booking hotels for teams? Is there a discount code specifically for Sandman?
We may have rates set aside, but Sandman is one of our primary hotel sponsors for the season. There's some others that are listed in there as well, and so some of them will have set rates for teams. I believe clubs. You check with your club admin, because I think clubs were getting club codes for you to book with those. Could be wrong. I might be thinking about an old program, but check with your club admin to see if they have those. But I will get our communications team to put something together, and maybe we can share that with the information you're going to send out, Ryan. You're muted, Ryan.
Sorry, I just tried to post all those links in the chat, but it was too much. Apparently, there's a limit on the. So I'll just send it. I'll send it pretty quickly tonight or tomorrow. So don't stress. You'll have those links and codes and whatever you need. And again, you can always reach out anytime. Any other questions before I let you guys go? Awesome. Well, again, thanks everybody for being a coach. And yeah, we like, hopefully you get the sense, but like, we truly are here to make your experience, your team, your club's experience as best as we can. So, don't hesitate to reach out, and we're here for you guys. And this is why we do what we do, is to help support you and support players, and to create a really positive experience, hopefully for as many coaches and players and clubs as possible. So yeah, thank you for coming, and good luck. Have a great Christmas break, and we'll see you guys in the new year.
Thanks, Ryan.